progress.
So we're up to Daf Vav Amid Aleph. Let me explain what this entire daf is doing. It's not complicated. It's quite simple. It's like a formula. The formula is like this. We started with the Mishnah of Arba Avos Nezikin, and we said Avos implies that there are toldas. So basically, everything's chayiv. Everything that's alluded in the Mishnah is chayiv because it's either an Av or a tolda. That makes sense. Then the Mishnah said, these Avos Nezikin, the tzad hashava shevehen, the common denominator of all these things is that it's property of yours that does damage, so too you have to pay. The Gemara understands that those words at tzad hashava shevehen is alluding to cases, that there are some cases that the Mishnah, is a case at least, that the Mishnah did not refer to, that is chayiv, but not because it's an av or a tolda, but because there's a tzad hashava. A tzad hashava means that it's not exactly identical as A, right? It's not like A, because A has a uniqueness. But it's not like B, because B has a uniqueness. But A and B share a common denominator, that is that it's damaged and you have to pay. So too there's this magical case that alluded to in the Mishnah, that it's not exactly a tolda of A, it's not exactly a tolda of B, but you're chayiv because it's tzad hashava. So the Gemara is basically going to try to figure out what exactly is this case, because everything that should be chayiv is a tolda, so it's already alluded to. What is this case that's not a tolda but still chayiv? That
an av and a tolda are like 100% equal.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Shava is like 10%.
Well, it's not. It's just not. It's not that it's 10%. It's that the result is 100% guilty, but it's not a tolda of A and it's not a tolda of B, but it has a common denominator. Basically, what's the case where something's chayiv, but it's not a tolda of either A or B? It's a tzad hashava. It's included in this common denominator. So the Gemara wants to know, Lasu yemai, what exactly do the words at tzad hashava shebehen, what do they include? Because if something's a tolda, it should be chayiv because it's a tolda, and if it's not a tolda, then why is it chayiv? So the Gemara says, Lasuye, the case of the Mishnah that it's alluded to, is avnoi sakinoi umasoi shenicha beresh gagoy. You put a backpack or you put a knife by a windowsill, v'naflu baruch mitzuya, and a wind blew it out, v'haziku, and they caused damage. So the Gemara understands that you're chayiv in that case, and what's the source? From the words at tzad hashava. Here's the problem. In those cases, right, I left a backpack on the top of a roof. Simple wind blew it off, not like a hurricane wind. Regular wind blew off and hurt somebody. Here's the issue. We sort of alluded to this already in the last couple of dafim. If it hits someone directly on the fall, that's a tolda of shar. That's a tolda of eish. So it's not a tzad hashava, it's a tolda.
Why is it tolda of eish?
Because eish is where you did something and the wind carried it. So this, I put something and the wind carried it. That's a tolda of eish. If it fell on the ground and then someone hurt themselves, so if I'm mafker it, it's a tolda of bar. If I'm not mafker it, it's a machlekes, either tolda of shar or tolda of bar. But whatever it is, it's a tolda of something. So you're telling me this is the case where it's not a tolda. Why not? Isn't it either a tolda of eish, a tolda of bar, or a tolda of shar, depending on the situation? So it should be chayiv because it's a tolda, not because a tzad hashava. As the Gemara says, so the case is hechidami. What's the case? If it hits someone on the way down, meaning it's not that it fell and then someone hurt themselves. It hit someone on the way down. Hainu eish. That's exact tolda of eish, and therefore it's not chayiv because it's a tzad hashava. It's a tolda. Meaning, ma'ishna eish. What's the Indian of eish? Is the koyach acher mu'urav boy. If you created something and then the wind carried it to cause damage, and you're responsible. Haninami koyach mu'urav. That's a tolda of eish. So why does it include in tzad hashava? It should be included in a tolda. Okay, let's keep going. Ella basa denaichi. The cases where not that the item didn't hit someone on the way down, it fell on the ground, and then someone tripped on it, and someone hurt themselves. Well, what is the situation? Idafkarinu, if I'm already mafker it, meaning it gets to the ground and then I'm mafker it, bein l'Rav bein l'Shmuel hainu bar. Isn't that bar? Meaning, Rav and Shmuel argue in the following case. I take a knife and I place it on Main Street. So if I'm mafker it, everyone agrees I'm chayav bar. If I'm not mafker it, it's machlekes either bar or shar. Okay, but whatever the case is, yeah?
Why are you using an example of? Does it have to be something like that? Like, what if it's a book?
Yeah, no. I just pick knife because it's just, it could be a backpack. It could be anything that hurts somebody. I just pick knife because it's just a pretty obvious case.
Because my point in asking is because a book is just, you could find on Main Street just like any day of the week.
If you put something that could trip somebody, that would be the same thing. It doesn't have to be a specific item. Anything. Avnei, sakinoi, masoi. You put something down there that causes someone to stumble.
When is it in the individual's?
You shouldn't be
responsibility?
leaving a book in the middle of a place where people are walking. That's the point. If you,
It's not, it might not, but in this case, it's not done on purpose.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you put something there that someone trips on, you're going to be chayiv. So the point is, if you put that item on the ground, if you're mafker it, again, they're arguing in a case where you put it on the ground. So over here, it started on the roof and then fell. Okay, fine. But if you're mafker it, it's bar. It's a tolda. Just like bar is your creation and it causes someone to be injured and you're responsible. So too over here. So the case is el deloy afkarinu. Okay, the book fell, the knife fell, the backpack fell. I wasn't mafkir, and then someone hurt themselves. L'shmuel damar kulam bar l'manu hainu bar. Shmuel still feels it's bar. So the question is basically, you're telling me this is the case that you're chayiv because it's from a tzara shava. Isn't it a straight up tolda? The answer is no. La'olam dafkarinu. Really, the case is where you put something on a roof, it fell down. You were mafker it, and then someone hurt themselves. I thought if you're mafker it, it's bar. The answer is no. The case of Rav and Shmuel, that they said that if you're mafker an item, it's bar, is where you placed it on Main Street, in the spot that it hurt somebody, you placed it there, you're mafker it, that's a straight up told of bar. Over here, though, because I left it on the roof, and it traveled through the wind, it's not exactly a told of bar. Now, it has some bar-like qualities, but it's not exactly a bar. It has some eish-like qualities. Hatzara shava shebehen. That's the point. That's why it's a tzara shava, because it's not exactly a tolda, because it has a quality that bar does not have, which is that it traveled based on the wind, as opposed to bar, which is it's exactly where you said it.
What's the difference? Why is it mafker? What does mafker do?
Because if you're not mafker, then it can't be bar. Bar doesn't belong to you. Bar doesn't belong to you. So therefore, for it to be like bar, it has. You can't own emptiness. It's in Rosh Hashanah. I dig a pit in Rosh Hashanah. How does it belong to me? The point is it's a hefker, but the Torah makes you responsible. So bar has to be hefker. That's the point. So the Gemara says, "Loilam dafkerinu." Really, you're mafker it. So you say if you're mafker it, it's a told of bar. The answer is no. It's not exactly like bar. Why? Mala bar shekin ein koyach by. With bar, there is no other element that's included with. There's no wind, there's no flying, there's no moving. It's exactly just the way you did it. So therefore, it's not exactly told of bar. So you'll say, so then I should be potter because the wind carried it. The answer is eish yechiach. Yeah, but in that regard, it's similar to Eish. But it's not exactly similar to Eish. Eish Echiach. Mala Eish and Kein Darker Leilach Lahazik. Yeah, but it's not like Eish, because Eish, it's normal for it to travel and hurt. This is a knife where it's not normal for it to travel. Bar Techiach, but it's similar to Bar. The Chazer Adin, and that's the Hatzara Shavas. So basically, this answered the riddle, which is we're looking for something that's similar to a couple things, but not exactly a Tolda, and that's the case. We're going to go through a couple more of the daf. That's basically what this daf is doing, at least for the first amud and a half. Rava Amar, another answer. Bar Hamizgaga, very similar, but instead of a book bag on the roof that flew over, here's the case. I put down a knife or a book or a rock or whatever in Rosh Hashanah, and then someone kicked it. And people are kicking it, and then a block later someone hurts themselves. So it's not exactly a tolda of the Gemara is basically going to get to. The Gemara is going to say, isn't it a tolda of bar? It's not really, because a bar is where I placed it. Over here it had to travel. But it's similar to bar, but not exactly bar. But it's similar to Eish, similar to Karana. Hatzara Shava. So the Gemara is...
The difference is that here it's not the wind, it's people kicking.
But it's the same, yeah, exactly. The cases where you place something down and then people kicked it down the road and then someone hurt themselves. Well, the Gemara says, hey, well, what's the case? If you were mafker this item, bein Rabbi in the shul hainu bar, isn't that a straight up told of bar? So why are you telling me it's chayiv because it's tzad shav? It should be chayiv because it's a told of bar. Why isn't it told of bar? The answer is el delay afkarinu. Okay, you're not mafker it, but l'shmuel damar kulam evarlam and hainu bar. Shmuel still feels that it's bar. So why isn't this a told of bar? The answer is loilam dafkarinu. Really, you're mafker it. And if you're mafker it, why isn't it a straight up told of bar? This is loy damar bar. Malabar shekin of garmulai. The bar, your actions are the only cause of this item to exist. But over here, over here, you needed people to kick it a couple blocks. So it's not exactly like bar. So it's not exactly like bar, but you can't exempt it because it's kind of similar to shar, because the shar also moves. Yeah, but it's not exactly like shar. Shar, it's normal to attack. So you go back and forth, Fine, that's a tzad hashava. That's the second answer. A third answer. He feels the case of the Mishnah that said tzad hashava, which is not exactly a tolda, but still chayiv, is not a case of what we said before, but rather it's the following concept. The halacha is that if someone had wastewater, they had a toilet, whatever it is, Chazal allowed them to pour it into Rishus Harabim because they didn't have a place to pour it, and you couldn't pour it into your garden. They didn't have plumbing, so you were allowed to pour it onto Main Street, but only during the winter. During the summer, you were not allowed to because during the winter everything was snowy and gross anyway. So just throw it on; it doesn't make a difference. So you had Rishus during the winter, no Rishus during the summer. The case is it's during the winter. I'm taking my toilet and I have permission to throw it on Main Street, but I throw it a little bit too much zealous and it splashes all over your suit. So the halach is I have to pay. That's the case of the Mishnah. So that's the case where it's not exactly a told of any specific thing, but you're chayiv. So the Gemara says, case is like this: Titania, kol elu shamru poiskin bi boisehen v'garfen ma'irisein b'moisa chama ein lem rishos. The case is Chazal said poiskin bi boisehen, which is you could open up your sewers v'garfen ma'irisein, and you could throw out your wastewater b'moisa chama ein lem rishos. Not during the summer, because during the summer Main Street is clean and they don't want you to ruin it. But moisa geshamim yesh lem rishos. But during the winter, you have permission. But says the Gemara, but even during the winter where you have permission to spill the wastewater into Main Street, if you cause damage by doing this chayavim l'shalem, you have to pay. That's the case of the Mishnah. So it's not exactly a tolda, but you're chayav. So the Gemara says, well, why isn't it a tolda? Hey, chidami. Well, 1 second. Did the wastewater, did I throw the toilet straight onto you where it didn't even rest on the ground, it went straight from my hands to you? If I did that, that's Adam, right? What if I go over to you and I punch you in the face? I'm chayiv because I used my force to hurt you. So over here, I took wastewater and I sprayed it in your face. I sprayed it into your suit. That's Adam. So why is that that's a tolda? Ella basa denaychi. Now the case is where I spilled it on the ground, then you slipped in it. Well, okay. Well, here's the question. Now, but the assumption is that when you pour wastewater into Main Street, you're mafker it automatically. So it's a case of hefker. So hechidami idafkerinu bein l'rav mishwahainu bar. Ma'ishna bar tchilasi says an esmeshar zalecha. Chanamit tchilasi says an esmeshar zalecha. Isn't that bar? It's a tolda bar. Let's say for some reason I said I'm not mafker this wastewater. I like this wastewater. So l'shmuel damar kulam bar l'maynu hainu bar. Isn't Shmuel still feel it's bar? I mean, basically, how is this not a tolda? If it sprays directly from my hands onto your suit, that's Adam. If it falls on the floor, that's bar. The answer is no. Lo yilam dafgrinu. Really, it's on the ground, and then I'm mafker, and someone trips, and someone slips in it. So isn't that bar? The answer is it's not exactly bar. I'll tell you why. Bar, you have no permission to do it. You're not allowed to go onto Main Street, halachically, and start digging a hole. You have no permission from Chazal to do this. Over here, I have permission to put this wastewater onto Main Street. So the reason why it's not exactly bar, Chazal permitted me during the winter to do this. I'm allowed to do this. So yes, you hurt yourself in it, you slipped in it. I understand, I'll pay. But it's not exactly a told of bar, because bar, there's no permission to do this action. Over here, there is permission to do this action. So you'll say it's not exactly bar. Okay, but you know what it is similar in that regard, in the permission to an ox. You're allowed to own an ox, right? No one would have an objection of you owning an ox, but it's not similar to ox because an ox goes to damage. Bar yechiach v'chazer adin le'roi zekreiza. That's the case. The Gemara says lo'im dafgrinu v'lo'idami le'bar, but it's not exactly bar. Why isn't it a straight up told of bar? Because ma le'bar shekin shaloi b'rishus. Bar is you don't have permission to dig a bar. Timer bahani shibrishus, as opposed to this. Go to the next page, which is permission. Okay, so it's not similar to a bar. So you'll say you're potter, but then shar yechiach. But in that regard, it's similar to an ox. An ox you have permission to own and you have to pay. Mal shar, but it's not similar to a shar exactly. It's not a told of shar. Mash shekin darke lechaza, because the shar travels to damage. Bar techiach. But in that regard, maybe it's more similar to bar. So it's neither. V'chazer adin. Fine. That's the third answer. The fourth answer is as follows. The case is as follows. Let's say you have a wall. Your house wall falls over, and the case is where it was a healthy wall. It was an earthquake, and it hurt somebody on Main Street. You're potter. Why? It's an onus. That's not my responsibility. I have no idea. I have no way. There's no negligence in my part whatsoever. But says the Gemara. Let's say Bezdin or the building department walks past your wall and says, listen, this wall is not very strong. You have 1 month. You got to cut it down. By August 1st, you got to take it down and fix it. And you didn't, and then it fell. So am I chayiv? So it depends. If you have till August 1st, so if it fell before August 1st, not my problem. I have permission. I was told it's not dangerous till August 1st. If it fell after August 1st, then I'm chayiv. So hechidami. So the case is where they told me I have to knock it down by August 1st. It's already past August 1st, and then it falls, so it's my negligence. I'm chayiv. That's the case of the Mishnah, which is not exactly a tolda, but I'm chayiv. So the Gemara said, well, hechidami. If you're mafker the items, let's say it didn't hurt someone while it's falling. The wall fell, and then someone tripped a day later. So are you mafker the pieces of brick and pieces of wood? Bein l'Rabbi Shmuel bar. So that's a tolda bar. Maishna bar da ziku matzah shmos alacha nami ziku shmos alacha. So why isn't that a told of bar? Idol afker l'shmuel davar kan l'manu hainu bar. And even if you're not mafker it, Shmuel still feels it's bar. So the question is, why isn't that a told of bar? The answer is la'olam da'afkerinu. Really, you're mafker it. So why isn't it a told of bar? V'lei dami lebar because malabar shein tchilas asiyas l'nezek. Tarma bahani shein tchilas asiyas l'nezek. The reason why it's not a told of bar is because bar, from the moment you dig it up, from the moment its inception, it's dangerous. Over here, this wall was not dangerous for the first 10 years that I used it. So it's not exactly a told of bar. Okay, but then you're going to say, so it's not a told of bar. So what is it? Probably a told of shar, because a shar is also not dangerous from the moment you buy it, right? The moment you buy a shar, it's not biting yet, it's not attacking yet, but attacks later. But malus shar shekin dark l'chazik. Yeah, but it's not similar to a shar because a shar attacks. So it's neither shar, neither bar, but it's a tzara shava. Din. Fine, that's the case of the Gemara. Okay, one more quick Gemara, and then we'll do a Gemara that we've had a couple times throughout Shas already. So the Gemara says like this. Before we get to the main Gemara, the Gemara just has a quick syntax problem from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says kishehizik, when the animal does damage, chav hamazik. Should be chayiv. Just this is especially a diktuk. Chayiv hamazik. I'm obligated. Chav is more like a chav means the obligation happens. It's not like chayiv. Chayiv means I am chayiv. Chav is not exactly the type of lashon that the Gemara should use. The Gemara says, why do you say the word chav? It should be chayiv. So Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, Haitani Yerushalmi, the author of our Mishnah was from Yerushalayim, and in Yerushalayim, the Tani Lishna Klila, they used shortened like slang. Their slang was a little more shortened. As anyone who learns Yerushalmi, the words are a little bit different. So chav was what they used to say in Yerushalayim. But you're right. If it was written by a Rav in Bavel, he would have said chayiv. So chav amazik. That's just how the terminology. But it's the same. It's the same meaning. It's just how they talk.
Check my other Gemara.
Go for it.
This Mishnah is a very, when they say Yerushalmi, is a very, very, very early Mishnah.
Oh, it could be.
No,
makes sense.
it's from the time of the. Written by Shane.
Okay,
very early Mishnah. That's
very possible.
About Yerushalmi in the short language.
Very possible. Okay, now let's just finish up the daf. Now this last sugya has to do with meitav sadeyu. We know that you have to pay with the best, the choicest of your land. This is a famous machlekes, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Akiva. Whose meitav does it go by? So let's explain. Tana Rabbanan, meitav sadeyu, right? You have to give the best of your land. The question is, meitav karmi shal, it's the pasuk. Meitav sadeyu shall nizik, umeitav karmi shall nizik div Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says it goes by the damagee, meaning if my ox hurt your ox, I give you the best of your land. Okay, Rav Akiva says no. Rav Akiva says no. It's from the choice land of the damager, my best land, and that's true with Hegdish as well. Now Hegdish we'll deal with tomorrow. That's tomorrow's daf. But so there seems to be a machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rav Akiva as to whose best land is it. Rabbi Shmuel says it's the best land of the damagee, and Rav Akiva says it's the best land of the damager. Now the question is, what exactly is the case? So the Gemara says like this. Meaning, what is the machlokes about? Rabbi Shmuel, now the Gemara understands Rabbi Shmuel is a little bit hard to understand. He's saying, you go by the damagee, the one who got hurt. You go by his best land. So the Gemara said, wait a minute. The Gemara understands what it means is like this. Now this would be very strange. The Gemara understands, let's say my ox destroyed 1 acre of swampland. So Rabbi Shmuel says you go by the best land of the damagee. What that means is that if my ox damaged an acre of your swampland, I don't pay you back the value of an acre of swampland. I pay you back the value of an acre of the best land. Let's say the best land is grain. I give you back an acre of grain. Now the problem with that is that if my animal damaged an acre of swampland with $100, you tell me I don't pay back that. I pay back an acre of choice land, which is worth $10,000. So my animal damaged $100 worth, and I'm paying back $10,000 worth. That doesn't make any sense. That can't be. No, but why? Why would it be? The pasuk says meitav sedeu. It's not a knas. The pasuk says meitav. The pasuk says meitav. It's not a knas. It's a Torah. It's a biblical concept. Knas is a derabana. So if you want to say it's a knas, it's one thing, but it's not the pasuk. The pasuk says. So the Gemara says if it means literally, it means you always pay back with the choices of the nizik. That means that if my animal, regardless of what it damaged, I'm going to give you your best land back. The price difference could be huge. Right. So the Gemara says it doesn't make any sense. So my animal destroyed garbage land, I should pay back the best land. So I'm Ravidi Baravin. No, that's not what it means. So the Gemara's first attempt is also strange. The Gemara says no. If it ate an acre of swampland, I don't have to pay back an acre of grain land. That doesn't make sense. The case is my animal ate an acre of your land. We just don't know which one. So we go with the best. The problem is, that also doesn't make sense. Why? Because whenever there's a shaila of whether I'm obligated to pay, my animal destroyed an acre of your land. It could be swampland worth $100, it could be the best land worth $10,000. So I have to pay $10,000? I should not have to pay $10,000. It's a suffix. Rabbi says, wait a minute. Listen, if I knew my animal ate swampland, I'm only paying $100. But now that we're not sure, I have to pay $10,000. You prove to me that I have to pay. Why do I have to pay $10,000? I don't know what my animal did. So rather, and this is the conclusion which you had a couple times throughout Shas, Ela Omer Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. You know what the machlokas Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Akiva is as follows. The case is as follows. The case is, I'll go the opposite. Your animal caused damage to my fields. Okay? The pasuk says you pay back the best land. Here's the case. I'm much poorer than you are. My best is equal to your worst. So your animal damaged $10,000 worth of land by me. So you pay the best. Now the question is, who's best? My best land is equal to your worst land. So you have two choices. You either give me $10,000 worth of your worst, but wait a minute, I thought it's meitav. The answer is, it is meitav, because your worst is my best. That's the shita of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says, nizik, you go with the damagee. If his best land is equal to your worst, then you could give me your worst land worth $10,000. Rav Akiva disagrees. He says, no, we got to punish you. Rav Akiva says, you don't give me your worst land for $10,000. You find a parcel land of your best worth $10,000 and give it to me. So that's the machlokes. Huh?
So that's punishment.
But it's meitav. It's not. The original was that if I damage an acre of swampland, I'm paying for an acre of grain. That's not what's happening here, because that's a huge price difference. I'm getting paid $10,000. I did $10,000 damage. I got $10,000 worth of damage. I'm getting $10,000 back. The question is Gavin giving me a large parcel of his cheap land or a small parcel of his better land? But $10,000 is all he's paying. He's not paying more than the damage. We originally thought he was paying more than damage. That's not what's happening. He is giving me $10,000 of his land. The question is, the pasuk says he has to give me the best land. The question is, does that mean his best or the equal to my best? My best is equal to his cheapest. So he could, according to Rabbi Shmuel, he can give me $10,000 of his cheapest land, his swamp land. The pasuk says best, is my best. Rav Akiva says no, he's got to give me $10,000 worth of his best land, which will obviously be a much smaller parcel of land.
Why would Rabbi Akiva say this when you have?
Because the pasuk says meitav sadeu. You got to give the best of the damager. Your best is the best. You got to give it to me. Rabbi Shmuel says no. Meitav sadeu shel nizik. You're giving the best of my land. Everyone agrees to giving the best. The question is, who's best? Is it the damagee or the damager? So the Gemara says like this.
Just a question. So Rabbi says that there is no there's no penalty, and
everyone agrees that the person. It's not a penalty. Everyone agrees that
If I'm giving you land, my land that's worth more than your land, that's a penalty.
But you're giving me a
Paying out
smaller
extra.
parcel. You're not giving me more money than my actual.
Is the value of the land the same?
Correct. Yes, I'm
the
getting
value of the land the same?
correct. I'm getting $10,000 worth of land because that's what was
So
damaged
in
on
both
mine.
cases, the value of the land is the
It's
same.
going to be smaller. The question is, am I giving you more?
That's the value.
Exactly. So the Gemara says like this: The case is where the person who got hurt, his best is equal to the damager's worst. And the machlokas is, what land does the damager give? Rabbi Shmuel savar b'denizik shamina, and Rabbi Shmuel says the damager gives his cheapest. The pasuk is meitav. The answer is his cheapest is equal to his best. Rav Akiva savar b'demazik shamina. Rav Akiva says no, you have to give your best, and your best, yes, you'll give a much smaller parcel of land. I understand that, but you have to give your best. What's the source in the pasuk? My time with Rabbi Shmuel, what's Rabbi Shmuel's reasoning that you go by the nizik and his best, even if it's the damager's worst? Because nemar sama lamata v'nemar sada lamayla. It says the word sada by the case of damaging, and it says sada by the word by the concept of payment. Ma sada omer lamayla. Just like when it comes to the damage nizik, it's talking about the damagee. That's what the context of the pasuk. Af sada lamata. So when it comes to payment the nizik, you go by the damagee's field. Rav Akiva says no. Meitav sadeu, meitav karma yishalem. You give the best, you shall pay. Tehech to come shalem. Rav Akiva says the paship shot of the pasuk is the person who's paying gives his best. So in this case, yes, my best is equal to his worst, but he's got to give me his best. So Rav Akiva says the paship shot of the pasuk. Rav Yishmael has a gzeir shava. I understand that you go by the nizik. But Rav Akiva says the paship shot of the pasuk is like me. So how does Rav Yishmael respond? The Gemara says Rav Yishmael ahani gzeir shava ahani kra. Rav Yishmael says we both could be right. Meaning the gzeir shava says that in this scenario you give your cheapest, which is my best. The pasuk implies that you give your best. I'll tell you when you give your best. Very simple. Two different cases. You have best, middle, worst. Your worst is equal to my best. So according to Rav Yishmael, you give your worst because that's equal to my best. What if your worst, you only have best and worst. You don't have a middle ground. You have two. My best is in between. So because it's in between, you can't give me your cheapest because it's not. That's when you go your best. So says Rabbi Shmuel, there are scenarios where you're going to give your best, and that is when my best is not equal to your worst. It's in between. If it's equal to your worst, you can give me your worst. But if it's in between, you can't give me something that's less than that. Then you go up. The point is, then you round up. The point is, Rabbi Shmuel says, in general, you can give the nizik's best if that's, just one second, let me finish the daf and then we'll talk. Finish the nizik's best if that's equal to your worst. So the pasuk implies that you give your best. You'll give your best if my best is in between your worst and your best. Then you'll go up, you'll round up. That's a scenario. Well, you would give your best. But if it equals out exactly, that your worst is equal to my best, you can give me your worst. If it's not equal, it's in between, then you got to go up. That's both psukim could be right. So the Gemara says, we'll end with this: Ani gzeir shava, ani kro. Ani gzeir shava k'tek hamina. Ani kro could go into Isla mizik mazik idis v'ziboris vizik denizik v'ziboris the mazik lo shavi k'idis denizik. And the case is my best is not equal to your worst, but it's not equal to your best. It's in between. Denizik shalim meitav didei loy matzi yomerlei toat gabi miziboris legabi meitav. And that you can't say take my worst because my best is not equal to your worst. Therefore, you have to give me your best. All right, we'll stop here and we'll pick it up tomorrow with the Kudshim part.